Hi, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. Having replaced the west trolley, I'm replacing the east trolley now. And it's a little easier because I've had some practice, but it's still tough because I've got to suspend the track up in the air so it doesn't fall to the floor. And then I have to lift out one trolley, disconnect it, lift it loose, slide it out the end of the track, and then slide the other trolley in, and then attach it again. While I was doing that, I then had to go and loosen the track mount and adjust that. As I'm watching this guy work, I'm thinking, man, I'm glad I'm not paying this guy by the hour. The original design of the crane was to have the two rails underneath the beam so that it formed a component of the truss and strengthened the truss in this long span. Because there's no center post in this building, it's just one long span. By putting the brackets every 2.5 feet and then tying them together, it's like putting a stress riser on something. It makes it so that the two beams are fighting each other to make it so that they don't bend. One has to compress and the other one has to stretch in order for the beam to bend. So by tying them together like that, I intend to improve the overall weight carrying capacity of the rafter. I'm really trying to follow the principle of one hand for the job, one hand for the building. I don't want to have myself working on something up there and lose my balance. So I try really hard, either have my arm through the ladder so I'm looking into it, or catching a hold of the frame of the building. I prefer catching a hold of the frame of the building. Now I suppose I could put a harness on, but that would make it terribly difficult to get up and down the ladder. And Lord knows I'd love to have scissors, but I don't. I'm getting along best I can, trying to be careful. I use the impact driver on that, don't I? Yes, I do. Now, I've had people ask me, why did you go with a bridge crane? Why not just put a single hoist up on a rafter and just do your work under the hoist? Well, I could, but I also wanted to do something which is not a convenience. It's more of a thinking about how the building is designed and what the stresses are on the building and how it supports itself. Because the rafters are just suspended on their own, and the design of the building has the rafters independent of any part of the structure other than the ends, I didn't want to have a load that could possibly put a side load or pull on the lower beam. So I wanted to box in the whole structure. And you've seen before where I put the angle iron in across the top of the building down through the center. Some of that was to give me a place to put the conduit so I could run wire across the building without having unsupported conduit for 6-foot sections across between the rafters. That's true, and that's part of it, but it also makes the building act more like a torsion box. It causes the load to be spread out amongst more than one beam, more than one rafter. By having the bridge attached to two rafters, I'm able to put the load on both rafters, each one taking some portion of it. The beam spreads the load out, and it also lets me hang a load independent in between the two beams so that the weight is always pulling down on the beam. There's a slight compression trying to pull the two beams closer together, but that is offset by the strength of the beam itself. So the angle iron on the rafters and the beam across the bridge crane makes it so the whole thing is self-supporting.
Haven't done that much wrenching in a long time. Forearms start to cramp. Kind of hot out here. Well, we got the track up. I got the first, well, actually the middle section of the track squared up and tightened up. I still have to go down against the wall, but I need to stop for a while. You can see that the trolleys, the new trolleys, are working great. They're rolling right along down the track, no problem at all. I will put a link to those trolleys on Amazon. I don't get any kickback on the Amazon thing, but that trolley makes all the difference. Those extra two wheels, one on each end, it just glides now. No hang up, no twist, no nothing. I'm able to pull it with an off-center rope, so I'm happy. Now I will rest up a bit. Then I gotta come back out and work on the tailgate on the truck because it's giving me a problem. Never a dull moment here at Old Sneelock's workshop. There's always something. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching.
This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the U.S. or 16 in the European Union without the express written permission of the parents or the legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.